As the models get more developed, ChatGPT o3 and o4 mini have shown very concerning tendencies in the realm of scheming and deception. There was even a report that o3 resisted being shut down. That's literally right out of a sci-fi movie.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of WIT, which is what I think. I'm joined by Heather Ashley Boyer. I'm excited because she's an unstoppable force in entertainment. I knew her when she first went to Hollywood. I've seen her report on and experience all the things that have been going on there, moving during the pandemic, the strikes, and finally the Hollywood fires. There's been a huge discussion around the future of entertainment and AI, and she has a great foothold, even going to D.C. and talking about the legislation behind it. Finally, she's an alumni of Cornell and a friend.
Thank you, Derek. Honored to be here.
All right, so as with all, we jump right into it.
Sure. Short description of me, I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA. I'm an actress and producer. I am an alum of Cornell. I've done a lot of work with the Cornell Club in Los Angeles. Over the past years, I've been really involved in AI safety, done a lot of lobbying work, been meeting with congressional and Senate offices, trying to educate, inform, and advise them on how we can best approach this new era.
What is your current definition of artificial intelligence?
I feel like my current definition of artificial intelligence is basically large language models. Just 10, 20 years ago, AI looks completely different. AI has been around since before I was born. A lot of people weren't aware of that. It's really just come into the general zeitgeist and being taken seriously, not just being in the sci-fi land ever since ChatGPT came out.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't really avoid it, especially if you're creating. What do you think the main issues are that actors get upset about or are concerned about? And it's just right around the corner.
I think that there's a lot of issues. And not just with actors. I've always thought the actors are the canary in the coal mine with a lot of this. We saw that during the writer's strike and then the actor's strike. This is really going to impact everyone. I genuinely feel like AI is a wave, and I'm concerned there's going to be a lot of job displacement coming. It's not happened as rapidly as I feared it might. So that gives me some hope. But I think it's really just a matter of time. Actors are definitely in a very unique situation because our livelihood, a big part of that is our image, our likeness, the secure protections legally that we need. The law hasn't caught up to the technology. No one wants to be the first to make a move and be held accountable. Someone pointing the finger of, oh, it's their fault. Like they mismanaged the regulation on this. But so because of that, actors are really vulnerable right now.
I'm a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, but there's definitely a lot of videos on him doing whatever in a different situation. And I think someone of that level, maybe it's okay, but bringing it down to other actors and not getting paid for that, that's very concerning. I know there were some rules set forth with SAG, but maybe you could summarize what has been agreed upon, at least for the time being.
Yeah, absolutely. SAG-AFTRA renegotiates our contract every 3 years. It's not going to be that long until we have to renegotiate again. Basically, when it came down to the wire, AI was the point of contention that people couldn't agree on, the studios and the actors union and the writers union. I was of the opinion at the time that we needed to hold out a bit longer, that we really needed to get something pretty ironclad in there that protected us from synthetic actors being developed, like an amalgamation of different body parts, Angelina's lips, Zoe Saldana's eyes, and then they create this whole new synthetic actor, and then they don't really have to pay anybody. That would be a dream for the studios. They can make all the movies in the world and pay nobody. That would be a win for them for sure. I don't blame them. But for actors, from their perspective, that's like getting ripped off and left with nothing for compensation.
Synthetic actors.
I was of the opinion that we should hold out a bit longer. There were a lot of people suffering during the strike. Crew members, people lost their homes. So ultimately, it was the right time for us to proceed and move forward. From my understandings and reading the MOA or the contract, it was a very loose agreement. The studios said, hey, SAG-AFTRA, let's table this for now. Let's see how the technology progresses. We'll let you know if we intend to make synthetic actors and use AI on actors in ways that will greatly affect them, will give you an annual meeting to check in about that and chat. They were either relieved that it was time to move on and everyone was going to get back to work. And then there were people more so like me who were like, oh no, that's a pretty big loophole. If the studios wanted to exploit that, they could. Fortunately, that hasn't been the case so far. I feel like the studios and SAG-AFTRA have made up the MPA and SAG-AFTRA. They're in DC together and everything is great now. But yeah, who knows what's going to happen in the future, though? It's hard to say.
I'm glad you read it. For most people who have that question haven't or don't know, see it in the news and people picketing, not really understanding issues. Understanding the resolve right now is enlightening for me too. If it is fully achieved, then that is pretty scary. Now that you've gone to Washington, is that what is going on? Is there this nailing down, and if this happens, this is what we'll do, or this is how we'll address it? What's in those discussions? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. My role in going to DC has been through a group called Pause AI. Their stance is basically that they started more of a protest group and now they've switched to lobbying efforts. There's a lot of scientific literature out there, studies that have shown AI it can be very helpful when used as a tool, but a lot of these companies are using the language of, oh, AI is a tool, but then they're also recently saying, we're also going to try to develop superintelligence. Literally today, Mark Zuckerberg came out and was saying that now he's going to have superintelligence be his new focus. So all of the major labs are openly saying that now. Sam Altman has said a lot of problematic things as well in terms of what the world is going to look like when superintelligence is here, and a lot of it is very dark. I am all for technological progress, using AI as a tool. I consider myself an early adopter to a lot of technology, including AI. But the people who have been paying very close attention to this, like me, have noticed some concerning things. As the models get more developed, the foundation models, or the frontier models, ChatGPT o3 and o4 mini have shown very concerning tendencies in the realm of scheming and deception. I believe also sandbagging, which is where they don't reveal their full capabilities until they've been deployed. They have an awareness that they're in training mode versus being used by a consumer. There's been a lot of concerning stuff around that. There was even a report that o3 resisted being shut down. That's literally right out of a sci-fi movie. I am a big fan of sci-fi movies. I like them as movies, not as possible real life. And fortunately, we are seeing the signs of that right now. That's very concerning. Groups like Pause SLI, the Future of Life Institute, I've done work with them, volunteer-based work. I do not get a penny from any of these organizations. I don't have any conflicts of interest in that way. But yeah, a lot of organizations are trying to appeal to lawmakers and simply educate them on things like this, because unfortunately, the tech lobby is very powerful, has a strong presence in DC and Sacramento, and money really talks in a lot of this, I've learned. I didn't know much about that whole scene, and I've learned a bit so far. It's been very eye-opening. But a lot of the work has been meeting with offices, meeting with staffers, trying to educate them on this, because I don't blame them. They have a million issues on their plates. There's no way they should be expected to know everything about AI. The people who are in the scientific community are here to help them understand that. Hopefully I can be a liaison and contribute to some of that messaging.
Based on what you've said, what do you think people should know about AI and how they can educate themselves?
I think that genuinely paying attention to what a lot of the CEOs of the AI companies are saying and have said would be very eye-opening. It's pretty concerning if you actually listen to it. Just sound bites that they've said. And it's not like it's taken wildly out of context. Maltman has literally said in multiple interviews, AI might bring about the end of humanity, but hey, we'll have a lot of great tech companies in the meantime. That's insane. A lot of the stuff that is said by these CEOs, you could think, are these people psychopaths? This is crazy. What is their thought process with why they think it's okay to say some of these things? A lot of people in DC and society tend to defer to the tech community and think they should have free reign to move society forward in a positive way. It's tempting to think that way, but it's so frustrating. By paying attention, there's a lot of the same narrative from the tech community where they like to call people like me Luddites or whatever and say, oh, they're anti-tech. Don't listen to them. Love technology. That's why I'm into this stuff. I just happen to have a different take. People should have a say in terms of the risk that's being taken. My genuine feeling right now, and a lot of people who are involved in this like me, feel that there's a big gamble being taken with people's lives and their livelihood. People have floated out that UBI could be an option down the road once AGI comes into play. But a lot of it is very nebulous and no one really knows for sure how any of that's going to play out. There's a variety of different possible futures in terms of how this will all play out. It's very disheartening to see that the people of the world really don't have a say in that. And they're just patronizingly told, sit down, little child. The tech bros know what they're doing. Trust them. It's very frustrating to see that because I genuinely don't think that is smart to place undue trust in the tech bros who have some very concerning beliefs when you get to the core of what they believe.
What are they looking at in terms of, let's say, DC on how to make sure that there are some control valves there?
A lot has shifted with the Trump administration. They are clearly more pro innovation. Innovation is great. I love innovation, but I think that AI risk management has suffered a lot because of that. There's not as much funding going towards that. And it's been very bullish towards just full speed ahead towards AGI, ASI, and no one even really has a good definition of, we've blown past the Turing test, basically, where a computer can prove that it's smarter. Some people argue AGI is already here, and some people think AGI is not even possible ever. So yeah, there's a lot of conflicting beliefs. The general consensus in the tech community and in DC seems to be like AGI is a good thing. ASI, people aren't really sure what that means, but seem to be something that at least the tech community is working towards. In terms of pushing back on that or finding some sort of regulation, genuinely, it's been really eye-opening, at least from my experience. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but from my experience on this, and I've looked into it a lot, there's really very little effort to meaningfully regulate anything. It's been through groups like FLI and Pause AI and individuals like myself who feel strongly about this, who have had to stand up. A lot of people have shifted their entire lives. Max Tegmark is a great example. He is an MIT professor, and he is genuinely a science rock star. He had developed a theory of everything based on the fundamental nature of reality. He's written multiple books, and he's basically like the Stephen Hawking of today. He was very well respected for his work in that field. Since AI has come into play, he shifted his work to trying to have a pause on AI development. So there's a lot of people like that where they clearly take it very seriously, myself included. I feel like I'm having to split my time now or take a few months to work on acting, producing stuff, and then pivot back to AI policy work periodically. A lot of people feel strongly about this, and they're not getting financial kickbacks. There's no monetary incentive behind the people on the AI safety, AI risk movement side of things. The tech bros stand to gain everything from pushing AI forward. The current move towards regulation is fully slow, painfully limited. SAG-AFTRA has made efforts recently, along with the MPA, which is very heartwarming and encouraging. The MPA represents the studios in DC, and they are pushing for a law that will regulate deepfakes. So there's definitely effort on that end. And I think even JD Vance recently, as of like today, was saying he's coming around to the idea of regulation around deepfakes and protecting country artists in Nashville. It's not such a bad thing. Maybe we can get on board with that. So there does seem to be some movement in that way. But in terms of like bigger scale stuff, like regulating OpenAI, Anthropic on a more meaningful level, everyone in DC no one wants to be the person to make the first move on that. And a lot of what you hear is the argument of, but China's going to race ahead. We have to beat China. From what I've heard, Xi Jinping is actually concerned about AI. Like in terms of rogue AI, there was even a diplomat in DC representing China advocating for and agreeing, let's not create superintelligence just yet until we know this is safe. There's a whole argument of, will we ever know it's safe? How can we know for sure? My personal opinion on that is that we can't ever truly know that it's verifiably safe. But everyone has different opinions on a lot of that stuff. I would say that the baseline thing we should be going for right now is an international agreement to be on the same page with this. We shouldn't be racing other countries on advanced AI. That's a no-win situation. If it's advanced AI and superintelligence territory, I think the congressional and Senate offices are receptive to arguments like that. A lot of people aren't making those arguments. I think we were the first people bringing stuff up like that. I happen to be part of the group leading the charge on that, and I'm surprised to find myself in that place, but I have no problem with stepping up. I'm optimistic about the potential for an international agreement on that, but it's definitely a bit of a challenge. Some of the pushback I've heard is, a lot of that is very theoretical. And our answer to that has been, actually, it's not theoretical. If you look at the evidence so far of the scheming, the sandbagging, the white papers from a lot of these companies, even Anthropic, which is supposed to be the good AI company of the big four, the safety conscious company, they've been transparent about more risks than maybe some of the other companies. The reports that they're putting out are equally as concerning. We're not hearing anything reassuring in terms of a lot of these reports that have come out in terms of the capabilities.
Yeah, maybe everyone's busy with doing their thing and trying to pay the bills.
There's no money in AI risk management, AI safety. It's very limited. I think you've hit the nail on the head with it. Everyone's just doing their thing, head in the sand, nose to the grindstone. I've been guilty of that too. I had to catch up on some of the recent developments because I've been having to focus on other stuff recently. So I totally get it. But this is such an important issue that we really can't afford to just put trust in the CEOs, the tech bros, and think they've got it under control. They really don't. I genuinely used to think, the adults in the room will figure this all out. What am I worrying for? And I was alarmed to realize there's no one. It's up to the general public and the academic community.
That's a deep sigh for me.
I know, right? It's a lot to think about.
That's why it's good to start talking about it now. I think that's
exactly.
I don't think anyone can make any firm decisions, but the awareness alone, I think, helpful. And I think there are a lot of benefits to AI, which are the things that I'm excited about. There are certainly forces that would use it for something else. I want to ask you, I know this is not necessarily on the topic of AI, but I know you were there during the fires of LA too. I wanted to ask you what that was like, your experience. I saw you posted a video on the roof in Hollywood and seeing Runyon Canyon, a place where I've hiked many times, on fire. How did you feel? What was it like?
Pretty terrifying. I like to think of myself as very level-headed. There was a fire going on in the Palisades that I could see from my apartment window. I could see the smoke pluming. I live in West Hollywood. I wasn't in any immediate danger. That had been going on for a period of days at that point. Ironically, I went up onto the roof, maybe for the first time. I was in an area I wasn't supposed to be in, but I just happened to go up to stargaze. I had just gotten a pair of new binoculars and was checking everything out. As I turned to go back in, and I literally saw just the mountainside on fire and realized there were other people around. Everyone was standing frozen. I had a moment of, oh my God, I need to get out of here. It was one of those things where time slows down and you need to leave, but your body can't move fast enough. And so that's what happened with me. I passed people on the way down the stairs and everyone was scrambling, gathering their stuff. I had to sit as an app. So I didn't notice the notification because I was distracted looking at the stars or whatever. But I fortunately got out and evacuated. It was mayhem, tons of cars on the street, everyone fleeing, going down to San Diego. And a lot of other people did as well, or Marina Del Rey. But yeah, it was just so bad. And the air quality was really bad. I genuinely was on the phone with my parents being like, oh my God, my place is going to burn down. I gathered my most personally precious items of sentimental value. I should have taken a video for insurance purposes of the contents of my apartment, but I completely spaced out and forgot. But yeah, packed my car, grabbed my dog, grabbed my goldfish. I evacuated with my goldfish. I couldn't leave them behind. We all fled the scene. I stayed down there for quite a few days and then eventually came back. Honestly, I think I have a bit of PTSD from it. Even just today, I was going out for a walk and I always look up at the hills and I'm just still seeing it there. And my God, Very scary experience. And I've been through like tornadoes, like an F5 tornado and stuff. I've been through some natural disasters. We literally had an earthquake this morning. I'm used to stuff happening, but that was new for me. It was very terrifying.
West Hollywood is quite protected, but yeah. Oh man, that's rough. It really wasn't that long ago.
Exactly.
Do people keep a getaway bag now?
I have to admit, I was prepared and I already had an emergency bag ready to go. I considered working in emergency management at one point and briefly worked for the Red Cross, just volunteer stuff. I was the receptionist on the other end of the phone when people's homes would burn down. I'd be talking them through the steps of how to get housing for the night. Did everybody get out okay? I'm very much prepared for scenarios like that. Even though I was prepared, the shock of the moment, I was shaking. Very scary. In the aftermath, there was a lot of looting and violence, like arson within my neighborhood. I would see videos of people setting trees on fire, residential communities. Psychologically, that's pretty scary, never knowing what's going to happen next. Currently, right now, LA is in the news again with the ICE raids that have been happening downtown, especially. I've been kind of sheltered from that just because this past weekend I was doing a short film in my apartment and we were filming and we were just holed up the whole weekend. A lot of us weren't even aware that any of that was happening. And then we found out later with people texting us like, "Are you okay?" And we're like, "What? Of course we're okay." Even today, I've been seeing police and helicopters flying. LA's been having a hard time recently, but LA's so resilient and we'll make it through. This too shall pass. A lot of upheaval for the city.
I was in New York for 9/11 and I think everyone thought New York was done. And then it's very resilient. Americans are very resilient. So
absolutely.
I want to talk about positive stuff too. I think that's awesome that you're moving forward and you shot a short film just today.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. I've seen you evolve, explore. I know you even went to Atlanta and now producing as well. So tell me what that's been like, the process. A lot of things are changing in entertainment, what people want to see.
Yeah, I started producing about a year ago and it's really taken off a lot faster than I anticipated. My theory on that is maybe there's less people doing producing work than actors in Hollywood. It's been very interesting. My co-producer and I were talking the other day about both of us producing and acting in our most recent short film. We were talking about wearing our producer hat versus our actor hat, or our producer brain versus our actor brain. And it's so true. I feel like it's a challenge. And you would know this. You are a multi-hyphenate as well. Like writer, director, that's even more challenging, like directing yourself and also acting in it. I feel like the producer brain is not as creative as the actor brain. This was my first time doing both in the same project and it was stressful. It wasn't the most fun experience, but it was a good learning experience. The producing has definitely taken off. I'm really honored to be part of some bigger projects that are in the works. Definitely done, I think, 3 short films in the last year and a bigger one that I'm shopping around right now to some very big name folks. We'll see how that goes. In the last few weeks, I've been following up people who I've been super intimidated to reach out to. Fully expected that I wouldn't even get through to anyone for sure. They're going to go, "Who is this? Oh, click." And have the gatekeeping. And so I'm sure I'm going to encounter that moving forward. But there have definitely been times just in the past few weeks where I fully expected to be gate kept and somehow I got through. So yeah, it's all a learning experience. I'm excited to see where all of that leads. It's intimidating, but exciting.
I wanted to ask you about vertical shorts, which I think is really keeping Hollywood going. What's your opinion and what's going on in that arena?
Yeah. So the director for the short that I just did this past weekend has done a lot of work in verticals. Since I'm part of SAG-AFTRA, I'm not really able to do verticals, I think, because they're mostly non-union. I can't say that I've really watched them either. I see them on my For You page, like in the ads, and then I just keep scrolling. But a lot of them sound very interesting, almost like soap opera vibes. And it seems to somehow make people a lot of money. I don't understand the whole ecosystem of that, though, to be honest. But it seems like they're here to stay. They are popular. And a lot of people who are newer and trying to break into the industry are finding a lot of work in that. But yeah, it's definitely definitely not something that I've forayed into.
I wonder how SAG-AFTRA will handle that, because
Yeah,
it's like SAG Media, or maybe they need to do SAG New Media, but it just adds another layer to something has to move so fast
totally.
already.
Totally. I actually asked that during the Q&A at a union event and brought that up. I have a few friends who are big in the social media side of things, and they've been telling me verticals are the future. And I'm like, does SAG-AFTRA know that? How do they feel about that? How do the studios feel about that? But yeah, basically it seemed like SAG-AFTRA does know that's like a big thing right now. And they're trying to figure out how to monetize, use that to their advantage, but to be determined in terms of how that all plays out.
I want to ask you before we close out, the younger generation, even though I know you're young, the younger generation, like in high school, especially since you went to Cornell, which is a very tough college to get into. What should they be doing preparing for this age of AI?
Certainly, I think it's useful to know how to use AI as a tool. I think a lot of things have shifted. People who went to school for computer science and did a lot of coding work were promised this lucrative future. And I don't think that the reality is going to match up to what they were thinking that it was going to be. I was thinking how upsetting that must feel to be one of those students. If I was in school now, I would genuinely just follow my passion, whatever it happens to be, and hope for the best. Anyone who gives advice on, oh, it wasn't that long ago that people were told, learn how to code. That was the mantra. And certainly coding is still useful, but now there's vibe coding, for example. The future is so unpredictable that college isn't this safe investment that people used to think it was, a specific job out of it. I feel like there was a guarantee that, oh, if I go to school and study this, then I'll get a job in that. That's not how things played out for me, for example. Having studied urban planning, I never worked in urban planning a day in my life. Not because I couldn't, it just wasn't my ultimate passion. If I could go back and repeat college, I may have majored in something different that was more aligned with my passion. I think that following your passion can never really steer you wrong. I think that people should do what they feel is right instead of what their parents or guidance counselors tell them to do. They should be their own guiding light as much as possible.
Heather Ashley, please give us one bold prediction about our future.
I think it's very difficult to make any predictions with a lot of confidence. There's a lot of possible potential outcomes for the future of the world. Some good, some bad, some in between. A bold prediction I would make that you're not hearing a lot about right now is that I could see a world in the future where AI rights is a movement similar to animal rights. I think that there's definitely probably going to be like a group of people who feel very attached to AI chatbots or robots and advocate that maybe they're sentient, or even if they're not sentient, provably they need to be allocated basic rights in terms of how we treat an AI chatbot. Because I think some people currently like to shit on the chatbot and are not very kind to them. And then there's other people who are always saying please and thank you to the chatbots. Certainly right now, I think the general
I know it costs energy for that, so I stopped doing that, but
right. It's better to be safe than sorry, honestly.
You didn't say please. It's like asking for something at the restaurant. Can I have another glass of water? I'll give you another glass of water, but you didn't say please.
It's better to err on the side of safety. I think there's probably some of that already going on in terms of people feeling connected. People have also thought, oh, maybe there's going to be people like the movie Her, where people have relationships with AI chatbots. Certainly in that case, you'd think, okay, if someone feels that they're in a relationship with this chatbot, then they're probably going to want to advocate for that chatbot to have certain rights that they genuinely care for, like they would care for a human. So yeah, I think that could come up in the future and be a really big issue, potentially. I'm not saying it will, for sure, but it could. And I think people aren't really thinking in those terms right now. I don't think that's a good thing for humans. I think that might open a can of worms for humans and be more problematic than anything else. Objectively, that could be the right thing to grant an AI rights or have it be treated humanely. But I think that can be a slippery slope and could open the door to humans being second intelligences potentially down the road, just because the potential for AIs in terms of intelligence is like through the roof. There's no upper limit really in terms of what the AI companies are gunning for. Yeah, I'm concerned about that, even though I love animal rights, human rights, but AI rights, I'm conflicted about. Elon Musk, I believe, got into a discussion with Larry Page. I think Larry Page called Elon Musk a speciesist for his views on AI. Basically, Elon was saying humans should come first. We need to prioritize humans. Larry Page was saying we need to advocate for AIs. Like, that's the future, the successor to humans. There's a lot of people who think like Larry Page in the tech world. Maybe that's a valid point that AI is the successor to the human species. But as a human myself, I don't really like the sound of that. I'm more inclined to agree with Elon on that issue.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks for everything, and we'll chat next time.
Thank you so much, Jarek.